Hey, welcome back, friends. If you are enjoying the friends, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Today I'm going to be going over essentially how I do Cluescrolls. I have a couple things I want to mention. I want to mention Alt 1 Toolkit. I want to mention my bank preset, as well as a couple of the teleports that you should be keeping in mind. So first things first, let's go over the Alt 1 Toolkit. This is a little bit iffy. It's up to you whether or not you actually want to use the Alt 1 toolkit, but it does have quite a few really cool benefits to it. The first one is obviously it has a map that you can see right here. It gives you all the different teleports all around Gielinor. It's very, very useful. Obviously, like Wilderness doesn't have a whole lot of teleports. You have to be on the ancient teleport book. Also, whenever you go inside of any caves, it automatically switches over to a cave. The way this toolkit actually works is it just reads what's on your screen and puts an overlay over the screen. It doesn't actually interact with the game at all. So as far as I am aware, and as far as any mod is actually said, this is actually okay to use. That being said, there's some pretty overpowered stuff in this toolkit, so I personally am going to try to abuse as much as possible before they change their mind. If they do ever change their mind, this could be like an auto hotkeys for old school RuneScape. If it gets really, really popular and people start using it way too much, they may actually ban this. I don't know how they would possibly ban this, because it is just an overlay over your screen. It has nothing to do with the RuneScape client. It doesn't actually change the way that you're doing the RuneScape client at all. It literally just puts things over your screen. Like, this map is not part of RuneScape at all. It is just an overlay that goes over top of RuneScape. Alt 1 Toolkit actually has a lot of other benefits, like you can put an overlay for just a YouTube video over your screen. The only really overpowered one, in my opinion, is the Cluescrolls. So it's up to you whether or not you want to use it. Obviously use it at your own risk. Make sure you look into whether or not they have banned it or not before you actually choose to use it. But it does have a couple other benefits. It helps you with towers, lockboxes, slides, and knots. So basically all the puzzles, it automatically tells you how to complete them. You can complete a slide puzzle in about a minute, minute and a half. All the other puzzles take a solid about 30 seconds, if that, to complete. So it definitely makes it so that puzzles are very easy to complete, and you don't have to waste money on puzzle skipping tickets. Next thing up, I want to talk about my bank preset. I did create a bank preset. I just put it on like 5 just so that it's kind of out of the way, because I don't do Cluescrolls every single day. But when I do, I just want to be able to hit a button and get my complete tool set, or complete inventory. As you can see, there's a little bit of graphic bug here. Let's see if I can deposit it and re-withdraw it. Nope. Okay, well, the Dungeoneering Cape is just going to have a bug on it. There's nothing really I can do about that. The Dungeoneering Cape is one of the items that I do have in my inventory. If you activate the Dungeoneering Cape, obviously you do need level 99 to get the Dungeoneering Cape. It has a lot of teleports. Basically, there's too many teleports for me to actually talk about every single one. Polypore Dungeon is useful if you're trying to get to the Polypore Dungeon. There's one clue in there. What other ones? The Brimhaven Metal Dragon Dungeon. This is actually useful when you are trying to scan the Brimhaven Dungeon. It gets you right to the end of the dungeon, and you can just work your way backwards. Saves you a couple seconds of actually teleporting around. Dragon Tooth Celestial Dragon Dungeon. This is a Master Cluescroll. You need to go into this dungeon, so good there. What else is there? Taverley Hellhound Dungeon. This is useful when you're trying to get into the Taverley Dungeon to do a scanning clue. Brain Death Island. There's actually one. There is one. I think it's a clue scroll that is a riddle clue that sends you here. So Brain Death Island, very useful. I think that may be it. I do use the Dwarven Mine hidden mine as well whenever I'm trying to get into the Dwarven Mines. There's 2 clue scrolls. I believe that in a Master Clue Scroll you have to go to a concentrated gold ore. So there is that clue scroll. as well as one where you had to examine the last mining cart. That's very, very close to this teleport, so that's very useful there as well. Next thing is another skill cape, Slayer Cape. If you activate that, again, it just has teleports to all the different Slayer masters. There's 2 of extreme note that you're going to want to notice. Cheldar. If you're trying to get to Xanaris, this does save you a couple seconds. It's not a huge time save, but it's definitely worth putting in your inventory just for that. And then, I forget if it's a medium or a hard Cluescroll. There's one that is by the Moss Giants, which are really close to Vanica. This saves you like 20-30 seconds every single time you get that Cluescroll if you just teleport to Vanica and then use the agility shortcut. I know that a lot of people are going to try to run through that entire dungeon to get to the Moss Giants. That is definitely not worth doing. Just teleport to Vanica. If you have to, I would recommend actually just home teleporting to Edgeville and then running through the other part of the dungeon, the Edgeville dungeon, instead. That's another thing I should probably note as we're just kind of sitting here. Home teleports. You are going to want quick charges. As you can see, I've used like 300 of them. I recharge this like every week. I've used 300 in 1 week. If you haven't already checked out my other video, I'll put it in the links down below. It kind of describes whether or not quick home teleports are worth using. I think the end result was it's 300 or 400k per hour that you are essentially costing you for time saved versus money spent. So if you are making more than 400,000 GP per hour, you should be having quick home teleports on. These are definitely better than 400,000 GP per hour. Every single one of the Cluescrolls are better, so definitely use these. Next up are going to be my ring slots. 6-age circuit. This is kind of only useful to get to the World Gate. There's a couple clues kind of located around there. The Tokozo Ring. This is going to be how I actually teleport to fairy rings. A lot of people do use the Slayer gem instead. I personally like the Tokozo Ring. It teleports you a little bit further away from the fairy rings, but first off, it saves you an inventory space of having to actually bring a portable fairy ring or anything like that. And if you just teleport to the fight caves, first off, there is a bank extremely close by if you need to bank. If you are obviously max, you can just use the max cape instead. But not everybody is max, so this is going to get you extremely close to a bank. And then if you run a little bit northeast, you can see that there is a fairy ring right here. I do recommend right-clicking and selecting your destination. This is obviously a couple seconds slower than a portable fairy ring, but it definitely saves you a lot of money in the long run, because portable fairy rings, if you think about it, are worth like 100,000 GP a piece for 10 teleports. 10k a piece is probably worth just running to this fairy ring using the Tokozo Ring. Another thing that I use to get around an invention item, the Ring of Dueling. Obviously, there are a couple of different teleports that are useful. The Castle Wars Arena, the Al-Kharid Duel Arena, if you have a teleport around there, that is extremely useful. Nobody uses Fisted Guthix, or Guthix, however you pronounce that. Mobilizing Army Command Center. This seemed kind of useless to me when I first started doing it, but if you teleport to the Mobilizing Armies, it teleports you extremely closely to a Spirit Tree. So you don't have to get a portable Spirit Tree as well. Just bring around a Ring of Dueling. I personally compacted it. That is an invention. You can obviously just use regular Rings of Dueling, but this can get charged up to 160 times, so it's very useful to use this instead, in my opinion. Another thing is the Games Necklace. This is a little bit less useful. This is more recent addition. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of good teleports here. Berg Durot would be useful, but we have another item that actually teleports us to that unlimited amount of times and doesn't have a cost. So not so useful. Tears of Guthix, swear, they keep putting this word in the game and I can never remember how to pronounce it. That has no use at all. The only one that I really use it for is the Barbarian Outpost. I'm going to go ahead and go to the map really quick, and let's just go to the Barbarian Outpost. As you can see in the Barbarian Outpost, there's kind of no teleports anywhere close. Lighthouse teleport is going to be way up here, and you have to jump over all these rocks. Gnome Tree Stronghold, that's going to be kind of the closest teleport that you do have, and you have to use a agility shortcut right here. And then the only other teleport that's even close is the Waterfall Fire Giants, and there's no way of getting back up this waterfall. You have to go all the way down to somewhere around here, I believe, and run all the way back up. It's actually better just to teleport all the way down to the Ardoin teleport here and run all the way up to the Barbarian Outpost. So I literally put this in my inventory just for the Barbarian Outpost. It is that strong and that good to have. Obviously, if you're choosing not to use Lighthouse teleports due to the fact that they are about 25,000 GP apiece, you are going to be using this a decent amount to get up to the Lighthouse as well. I personally use the scroll teleports just because I like to get them done a little bit quicker. I don't think it's really efficient to do, but I would recommend having this in your inventory no matter what, and choosing whether or not to use the Lighthouse teleports at a later date. The Draken's Medallion. This does have a couple of useful teleports. If you are doing elite Cluescrolls and you're just trying to find wherever the arrow is pointing you to, the Barrows and Berg Dorad are extremely useful. The one that you're going to be using no matter what is the Darkmire. The Darkmire does have, or in Darkmire, there is a scanning Cluescroll. So you are going to want to teleport to Darkmire and then just run around all of this. If you do want to, you can bank really quick and grab an inventory so that you don't get constantly hit by the Vire Watch or the Vire Lords. I don't think it's actually worth it. You usually lose like 4,000 or 5,000 LP, sorry, when you are running around. So if you are a maxed out player, this isn't a huge deal. We do have ways of healing ourselves in the inventory, so I don't really care too much about healing, and you don't get this clue too often. The Karamja Gloves. This does have a teleport to get you to Karamja. This is another place that doesn't have a whole lot of good teleports to it. The best one is going to be Laplock teleport right here from the Slayer Cape. The Wicked Hood is going to only have 3 teleports a day, so we're not going to really be relying on that a whole lot to get around. If you do obviously have the Nature Rune teleports, this is worth using. But if you climb up this ladder, it gets you into Shallow Village, which does have a Cluescroll, and then there's a couple other Cluescrolls that are scattered about here. Obviously, there is a fairy ring up here, and the Witch Doctor mask down here, but all in all, if you're trying to get to this side of the river, this is going to be your best teleport. The Wicked Hood, this is going to be used exclusively to get you to the Wizard Tower. There's a couple of Cluescrolls around here, I think there's a hard one, an easy one, and then I think there's actually, if you go to the bottom floor, an anagram one to talk to the gnome wizard who's somewhere around here. He roams around a lot. There he is, Professor Ongelwip. Wow, I should never try to pronounce that. But yeah, this is going to be useful just to get to the Wizard Tower because there's not really another decent way of doing it without either this or silver jewelry. Ectophile, this is literally just to get you to the Ectofunctus. This is going to be the best way of getting to basically anything on this side of Mauritania. There is another option to actually use charter ships. This is going to just cost you a little bit of GP, and I personally like just doing this instead. There is a fairy ring over here if you prefer to use that. But I just use this to get anywhere close to here. Also, if you're trying to get to, I think it's Brain Death Island, you can run up to this guy. He's extremely close. The Witch Doctor mask. This is going to be used for the one exclusive teleport again. This is just going to get you to Papa Mamba. This is useful if you are trying to get to the Jadinko Cave for a Master Cluescroll. Also useful if you're trying to get to anything kind of in the south half of this jungle on the east side, because the fairy ring is way up to the north. There is, I think, a couple of Cluescrolls right here. If you are using the Cluescroll right here, you should probably be using this glider right here instead. That is one thing I'm going to want to mention before I get too far, though. The Lighthouse Teleport and the Lumberyard Teleport. Lighthouse Teleport, again, nothing even close, so that's why we're using the Lighthouse Teleport. And the Lumberyard Teleport, if this will load in a second, that's going to be useful because there's not really a teleport anywhere between the Mauritania, the Canifis Lodestone Teleport, and the Varrock Lodestone Teleport. So this is going to be our best way of getting anywhere around the Lumberyard. You can alternatively use the Digside Pendant or Digside Necklace. I'm kind of getting close to getting that. Because there is a decent amount of Cluescrolls in the dig site, and the Lumberyard teleports are actually relatively expensive. So that's one thing that I'm debating whether or not to add to this preset. Obviously up to you. The Captain's Log, again, this is a recent addition just because it has the teleport to obviously get you to the player-owned ports. And when you exit it, it gets you directly here to the Quartermaster Gully. It also gets you extremely close to the Monks of Entra, so there are 2 different islands that you can get to extremely quickly. If you're obviously going to just use a Waiko teleport, this probably is not actually worth having in your inventory, but it is entirely up to you. Enhanced Excalibur. This is extremely good because it does give you 4,000 LP heal every, I think, 5 minutes, and you don't honestly take that much damage over time. The only time that this is going to probably be out dealing damage to you is going to be when you are doing Master Cluescrolls. You're probably going to need to occasionally go to a bank just to heal up or something like that. It's obviously extremely quick to get to a bank anyhow, just because we do have the Tokozo ring in our inventory. But if you could do, or if you don't have to get to a bank and you could just heal up on the go, it is worth activating. And last but not least is going to be Law Runes and Fire Runes. I would recommend being on normal teleports because the Trollheim teleport is extremely powerful. Again, not really a whole lot of teleports around there, so I would recommend having these in your inventory. If you do want to, you can get a rune pouch and save 1 inventory space by having a rune pouch. You could also have a elemental staff in your inventory, saves you from having to have fire runes or any of the other runes. If you want to, it will save you a little bit of time by using teleports instead of home teleports, because teleports are obviously instantaneous, but it's not going to be a huge amount of time. A couple things in my worn inventory. We are going to want to look at the basically these 5 slots here. If you have the Globetrotter shorts, boots, gauntlets, the top, or the cape, you're going to want to be wearing those. I obviously don't have those yet. I'm working up towards those in the long run, so we are going to want to eventually upgrade to have all those in the inventory. I do have the Augmented Noxious Scythe just because it is not going to need ammo. That's going to be the big thing. That's why I use the Scythe over any of the other types. It's entirely up to you which type you use, but I recommend just a melee weapon. I do have the Max Cape. If you have the Max Cape, this is going to be extremely useful. If you are obviously wearing the full Globetrotter outfit, this is going to be in your inventory instead, with the Dungeoneering and the Slayer Cape. 2 of the achievement diary rewards that are going to be useful are going to be the Desert Amulet. This is essentially just used for the Narda teleport. It does have a couple of combat stats as well, so that helps you out a little bit. But the Narda doesn't really have a good teleport except for a teleport scroll, so if you want to save a teleport scroll, just put this on instead, and it's obviously one of the better in slot necklace slots anyhow. The Attune Crystal Teleport Seed. You do have to have the Attune version if you are going to want to equip this, but it teleports you to Yeta, however you pronounce that, and a bunch of the Prifindis guilds as well. This teleport is going to be most useful when you are doing a scanning clue scroll, and there's also, I think, a master clue scroll to get to Amthwin here, and I think that there is also a compass clue scroll that gets you somewhere in here. Luck of the Dwarves Ring. This is going to be used for Miscellanea. There's one on Miscellanea. Keldegrim for their scanning Cluescroll, and then the Grand Exchange if you want another bank. Also, if you want to get to Zyda right here, and if you want to get to the reward shop, this is extremely useful here. And also, if you don't have the Maxscape, this is going to be useful to get to the Grand Exchange when you're first starting out Cluescrolls, because you're going to have to be buying some items off the Grand Exchange before you actually make all of the hidey holes. So it's useful to get to the Grand Exchange, and obviously for these right here. And last but not least is going to be the Seers Headband. I literally just wear this for a light source. There's a couple times you have to go into dungeons that need a light source, so make sure you have this on you, or could be in your inventory. It works in your inventory as well. Hopefully this helps you guys all out when you are doing Cluescroll yourself. If it does, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so you can see all my future content. I do have pretty soon coming up, I do have 100 elite caskets that I have almost collected. I believe I'm up to 95 right about now. Yep, 95. Also, make sure you put a comment in the comment section if you have anything else that I should be adding to my inventory, anything that you find that is useless. Also, make sure you like this video if you enjoyed it. As always though, have a good one.